Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 10 versus 10 on Danger Hills, and I'm going to be playing with the 35th Guards Air Assault Brigade. I wanted to share this game with you guys today because it really allows me to talk a lot about the new update. The latest update was absolutely huge. It introduced an absolute ton of balance changes, as well as the veterancy rework, which further adjusted balance. There's divisional reworks for a bunch of divisions, including the 35th that I'm going to be playing today. The others were the 82nd Territorial Commando Sud and the 8th Infantry. They've added a new map that I'll definitely be showing to you guys on the channel soon, and they've added the map editor, and they've added some new traits, including the false flag trait, which basically causes troops to not focus those units because they're dressed as civilians, which is kind of cool. Anyway, Tornado F3 going to be coming in there, wrecking a Mi-8 in front of our eyes. Very cool to get us started. Let's have a quick look at my deployment. So you can see I've brought in a bunch of SPG-9s. I've got a leader here that's going to be creeping into the backside of the sector. We've got a couple of Desarniki Metis coming up with a Spetsnaz, and on the backside here you can see that I've got 5 Vasiliks. Now, I haven't actually mentioned the one thing that is super important about this update, and here we go. Watch it. Are you ready? Oh, there it is. There it is. The group load order. Absolutely groundbreaking. This might seem trivial for somebody who doesn't play Steel Division or WARNO, but this is probably one of the biggest quality of life updates that I've been looking forward to for a while, because it really opens up the opportunity to use towed artillery. Like, the way that you do this is when you unload them all, you have to select the entire group, so all of the artillery, including the transports, and then you right click one of the transports and all of your artillery units will load into the closest transport. So you'll see I'm going to be doing it again here. You select them all like this, and then you right click and they'll all reload into those transports. So very, very awesome new feature that will make towed artillery actually viable now, which is very, very cool. There's probably going to have to be some balancing done regarding towed artillery now, because towed artillery is significantly cheaper, and with this quality of life it actually makes them way easier to use, so therefore they are going to be extra effective for half the cost of mechanized artillery. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes moving forwards. But regardless, what I'm going to be doing today throughout this replay is showing off how effective unloading, reloading artillery can be. You can do this with any unit, by the way. It doesn't have to be artillery. It could be infantry with APCs or helicopters, whatever. So really, really awesome. One thing I will suggest to do, though, is don't do what I'm doing here, where you have them all like right next to each other when you unload. You want to make sure you like right click drag so you can do a formation, and then you can unload them in that formation, and that way they'll be spread, and then when they reload together they'll all get back into their relative transport, rather than you'll see here they're all too close together and the UAZs are going to kind of struggle to get around each other in order to load up. So most of them are going to load up, but one of them is taking its sweet time because they're kind of all bumping into each other. And there we go, the Vasilik's coming down. You can see the Vasilik fire coming in here. It does look effective, but it is not as effective as it looks, and it leaves a lot of craters. This CV on the backside there, it was my target, and we did manage to take it out. Helicopter CVs, they're in an interesting place in WARNO because you can't really use them to contest sectors. But they're great for sort of sneaky capping back sectors, or kind of just capturing your own back sectors pretty quickly. You can just buy one of those and then capture all your back sectors. Particularly in like a 1v1 scenario, or like a 2v2 maybe, you can capture all the back sectors for your team. So here you can see that I'm giving them the order basically to unload. And then what I'm doing is selecting them all, giving them an order to fire, and then what I can do is press shift and then right click one of the transports, and what it will do is, as long as I've got them all selected, it will reload them all back in. Now of course this is a replay, so I'm not able to show you immediately, but we can watch the Veselex fire away. And we're going to rain hell down upon them. So I'm currently targeting the Gepard back here. This Veselex fire kind of forces Debodal here to move his unit in advance, so I don't get the maximum effectiveness in the middle, but you can see it has chipped 1 health off the Gepard with that strike. They do work better at close range, the Veselex, because you can kind of make their fire a lot more concentrated, but I really wanted to see how well I could use these, and you can see the counter battery coming in there, and I've managed to shoot and scoop with plenty of time to spare. So already the effectiveness of this sort of towed artillery super good. And so I'm going to be trying to kill off this airborne scout. The airborne scout's actually out in the open, it doesn't have any cover bonus, so it should be a relatively easy kill for the Veselex. That's what we're going to be going for now. It looks awesome how they fire. And yeah, I've got the shift order, and they're all just going to instantly reload. And then I've just got to make sure that I move them away from where they were so that any enemy counter battery doesn't hit me. And you can see the initial mortar strike there absolutely obliterates the airborne scout. So in that case, it worked out quite nicely. Against units in cover, in buildings, not very effective. Against armoured units, Veselex are not very effective. You can chip tanks like this Leopard to a 4 on 1 health. I could probably kill it with the Veselex, but obviously it would have to be still in order to get an accurate strike. I have brought up a couple of MI8 MTAs now. These are going to be hovering around to provide me with recon over the backside of this sector so that we can get some more Veselex strikes in. And this is going to be all of my Veselex strikes. Now the other benefit of using these kinds of Veselex, you can see that enemy on here, he's using the MTLB ones. So it has the Veselex mounted on the back of the MTLB. The availability on these is less than if you bring them in towed, but you have the same weapon system. So yeah, you don't have the armor from the MTLB, but as long as you're shooting and scooting, that shouldn't really matter. There's going to be a really nice Veselex strike coming in here onto this infantry, chipping them a lot. So Endymions, Sapari and Spetsnaz engaging this infantry has a much better time. You can see that all of these infantry are suffering from lack of cohesion and taking a decent amount of damage as another set of shots come in from Endymion, I believe that is this time around. Endymion also making good use of the Veselex. And yeah, I've moved this off to the side. I was very much expecting the Harriers to come in for me, but they weren't. They were going for the MI8 MTA though, and end up paying the price. AA is super strong right now, especially with the veterancy changes. They are very accurate. The other thing that was changed in this update is SAM, so surface-to-air missiles, get more accurate the closer they are to the enemy. I'm not sure if this is going to remain the case because there are balancing issues around that, but we will, for now, that's basically how it is. So if you fly aircraft directly over AA, it's very likely that you're going to get shot down. Regardless, the UAZs, you can see I'm constantly like unloading, firing, loading, moving, just as you would in real life. I mean, the cool thing about this is it's going to enable towed artillery, like that is used in real life, to be shoot and scoop. Yeah, with trucks and stuff. So very cool. Instead of having to do it with like a Katsayas, for example, you could have just like 152mm towed artillery, and then you can probably get more availability of artillery, and you can also make use of some of the big guns that don't get really much use right now. So here, Phantom 2, no chance as it tries to dive the Mi-24. Here's one really nice thing about the latest change with the SAM update, where units are more accurate at close range, is that people don't dive aircraft as much now. It was always kind of frustrating when you were in the lead, and like the way that your opponent would try and get some value back was just by like diving aircraft into your helicopters, or diving aircraft into your tanks, like your heavy tanks, just like cluster bombing them, but just like suiciding the plane regardless. Now, because the missiles are very accurate, it's quite likely generally that you're going to be able to kill off the aircraft in advance, and if not, definitely afterwards. So that's really, really nice. But the Vasileks can be continuing to fire away. You can see that there's a lot of fire on the back side there. Endymion's Conkers looking for the Unimog kill. Did manage to unload in time. But we are currently trying to cap the backside of the sector. You can see that in the mid, things are not going too well for our team. We've actually dropped 1,500 points already, and our opponents still have a +3 on the board. So yeah, things aren't really looking very good, as I'm still memeing with the Vasileks, looking now for the kill onto the tracked Rapier. And you'll see that as soon as they fire their last salvo, they're all going to auto-load again into their respective transports. And this change is it is ridiculous how much easier it makes using towed artillery. Like, for anyone who plays the game, you really will appreciate it a lot. Track Rapier definitely lowered on cohesion, but as the smoke clears, it's still alive. Half health. I'm not sure if this has a little bit of armor. It does, yeah. So that's why the effectiveness is not so great from these Vasileks, because these Vasileks, they only fire like 82mm rounds, so not like a crazy amount of effectiveness against enemy armor. But against, again, infantry running across the open, that's a different story. In this case, I am going to be trying to focus the Terrier's Padda, and you'll also see I'm starting to use a bit of a different trick now with this artillery. I was reminded of this during the stream where I was playing this game. Also, just a quick note, if you would like to come along to my streams, I do stream every Wednesday WARNO at 8 PM on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/VulcanHDGaming, so make sure to come along and check it out if you want to get involved with some games of WARNO. I also stream Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday as well, if you want to come to those, but WARNO on Wednesday every week for sure. Anyway, I'm going to be using the return fire option, getting back to what I was talking about, and that is basically making all these Vasileks hold fire, and I'm doing that on purpose because I want to make sure that they all fire at the same time, making the strikes just a little bit more effective. It also means that there's less chance for the opponents to run away. It also makes the strikes look really pretty because they all come out at exactly the same time, very uniform strikes. So I'm going to be hitting this area right here. The Vasilek fires so high into the sky, smashing this area, hoping to kill any infantry in there. Now, one other thing that's kind of interesting about the Vasileks that you've got to bear in mind when using them is their minimum range is actually pretty long. So I can't really get any closer than this before I would have to purposefully move back in order to fire. And their minimum range is quite long, but their maximum range is also relatively short. So you have this sort of weird window where you can use the Vasileks effectively. And in this case, thankfully I have this massive forest I can use to shift them around and use them. But the Vasileks now going to be used to harass the Leopard 2A4s. Meanwhile, I am bringing some more stuff in on the right hand side. I wasn't really microing this too much. The plan was to just use these D82s to potentially sideshot the Leopard 2A3 and 2A4 here as they're engaging Burden's D80s. I'm also just going to be spreading out the Desar Niki to protect the leader that's contesting the center sector, because we do want to stop the bleeding here for sure. Meanwhile, on the left side, Mi-8 MTA going to be flying around trying to provide some recon information for us. And you can see I'm doing a nice loop here, just making sure that I'm seeing anything on the backside, noticing that there's not really much AA, so maybe I can get more use out of my helicopters or my aircraft, which is something that you still have in abundance in the 35th Guards. I haven't really talked much about the 35th Guards and since the change, but they are definitely like a lot weaker than they used to be. The Desaniki just don't really benefit the same way as some other units do from veterancy. I think the Desaniki maybe need an veterancy increase because they just don't match up to enemy infantry, and the autocannons right now really aren't helping much. So they have really much fallen off in the meta. This Leopard 284, you can see it took quite a lot of hits there with that. A Veselek strike is going to be limping out of that location as its cohesion gets taken down to 0 and it starts to rout. But now the Conkers and BRDM2s of Endymion going to be taking up position on the left side. And Endymion, I haven't mentioned yet, is also playing the 35th. So we're going to be seeing a lot of the play style across his units as well. He's got the Veseleks out, he's got the Conkers in this case, going to be covering the road. These sorts of units are super important now for this division because they provide the 20 penetration you need to deal with enemy heavy armor. Usually, or at least before this update, you would be able to bring in the T-64 BVs, and they were actually very effective against enemy armor. So that's usually what you would crutch on. But since this is an airborne division, the devs thought it would be good to give them a kind of make sure that they fit their theme. Which I think is fine, which is absolutely fine. The 35th was definitely an absolute powerhouse due to its ability to do basically everything. This Jaeger gonna get hit by a cluster bomb from attack there. Cluster bombs do a little bit of damage against infantry, as you can see. In that case, it's a pretty accurate cluster bomb, so significant damage. But my good old Veselek strike certainly going to finish the job there. Still moving them after firing every single time. This is super important to avoid enemy counter battery. The other thing that you might be wondering is like, why am I not attacking like these units up here, like this easy to shoot 105mm artillery piece, for example? And that's just because these don't have the range. You can see the range there on the far edge of the line of sight tool. So it's just about where these trucks are. That is the 4,925 meters. But at that range, the dispersion of your Veseleks is going to be pretty crazy. So really not very effective. You can see that enemy counter battery still coming in to try and kill my Veseleks after they fire. But at the moment, the 8 gems of Endymion doing a good job here. Meanwhile, on the right hand side, my Desaniki have been found and are being killed off by the M2A2 Bradleys. Apache's going to come over. It's going to find my poor little Jeep here shortly. And yeah, the units on this right hand side are really struggling. Cluster bomber did come in there, you can see, to try and kill the Veseleks, but they are moving every single time. Now I'm going to be targeting the enemy mortars, which have lined up across this road. And look how scary that looks. These mortars, seeing it coming, getting put pressure on by the BRDMs though. So, nicely done there by Endymion. We'll be able to take advantage of the cohesion loss of these mortars as well. So all those mortars being taken care of. Now this Jeep here, it's quite far forwards, but providing veterancy for your units is actually very important now. With the latest update, every veterancy gives you like 5% increase in stats, and that's super important. Because it increases your rate of fire, it increases your accuracy. Like if I click on these Spetsnaz, these are 3 veterancy. They get 76% accuracy on that AKS-74U. You got the RPO up to 56% accuracy, so doing some significant damage. But whilst this has all been going on, you might have noticed on the left-hand side here, I ran up a Jeep into this sector, Alpha Sector. Now the Alpha Sector does have a deployment point on the left side of the map, so we can actually use that to bring in our forces. I brought in, first of all, a second command so that we could continue to contest this, because the last thing we want is to lose control of this again with my command dying, them capturing it, all of their reinforcements pouring in off the side of the map, and we can't stop them. But we've managed to whittle them down enough, thanks to McShab on this left-hand side, that we can push in here with the leader, capture it for ourselves, use it to reinforce and push into their backline, which is really, really important. We're going to have to make up the 2,000 points that we're currently behind. Whilst I've been messing around with Vasilix. Now this isn't by any means a good use of the points here. I don't think Vasilix are actually that effective. You're probably better off using Nonas, I would say, with the 35th, because they're a higher caliber, they do more damage, they have longer range, they're more accurate when you're closer. So yeah, there's so many benefits, but you can see that they can do a significant amount of damage to like a leopard there, for example, if they are accurate enough. But in this case, the reason I was using them was just because of like meme value, I guess. I wanted to show off the Vasilix. I wanted to show off the new feature, being able to group load and unload like that, and this was the perfect game to show it off. On this left side, M48 coming up there. Our opponents trying to get tanks and commands into this position, but with the left flank completely collapsing, the helicopters are coming across now and doing an absolute number on all of this infantry, all this armor. I'm going to be sneaking up Spetsnaz on the left-hand side. But yeah, going back to what I was talking about here, the reason the Jeep's so far forward is, yeah, just veterancy. And I think using veterancy or like leader units more aggressively is definitely going to be a thing during this patch. Whether or not that remains the case, we'll have to wait and see, but for now that's definitely the case. But making sure you have that extra veterancy is huge. So what I'm doing now is I'm just sneaking up the units on the left hand side. The Spetsnaz OP get a really nice RPG. They get the RPG 29, which has 21 penetration, 750 meter range, and with their veterancy they get 67% accuracy. So fantastic for ambushing tanks on this road, which is where a lot of these tanks are going. I did manage to get a BMP-2 through the town right up to the enemy artillery. I was about to kill the Abbot, but an enemy tank came in there and killed my BMD. Bit unfortunate. Got a Spetsnaz back here. I imagine that just sits there for the whole game. Sometimes units get left behind and forgotten about. Meanwhile on this side, more Desarniki going to be pushing in. BMD-2's going to be following them once it's secure. The thing you want to do with half-tracks, or not half-tracks, APCs in forests, is generally allow your infantry to go first, see what's there. If it's infantry, then wait for your infantry to lower their cohesion, and then you might be able to engage with the BMD-2. If it's like infantry that doesn't have any AT, then the BMD-2s can just run them over anyway, so that's fine. If they do have AT, yeah, you're going to want to wait for that cohesion to get a bit lower. But regardless, at the moment, just scanning forwards with the Desarniki. Meanwhile, a fob was spotted back here, so that's going to go up in smoke as enemy rocket artillery and tube artillery falls down upon it. All my Vasilix. See, since they still have their UAZs, I was able to pick them all up, zoom them to the left-hand side here, landed them next to the Mi-26, drained the supply of the Mi-26 by 4,000 to get them reloaded, and then I'm taking them into this forest now so that I can harass the units in the backside of the map. It's absolutely ridiculous. But currently, yeah, 2,047 points for our opponents, 269 for us. We're still very much behind in this game. But Valda's here doing a good job on the right-hand side, pushing this with Larsius. So they've managed to almost take full control of that sector, which will give us a nice advantage on ticking points. We've obviously pushed through the left side entirely, in no part, thanks to my Battlegroups. The Battlegroups really haven't been doing the job. But we are going to be starting to do some damage now as the Spetsnaz OP get a nice shot here in the side of the M1A1 Abrams. We're also going to be hitting the M1A1 CP potentially pretty hard. The Veselix of Endymion going to be getting involved as well. So loads of mortar fire coming down. This poor M981 taking the brunt of that to the face. But our sweep from left to right is starting to come into effect. I'm continuing the pressure from the bottom side. Teammates obviously coming across. You see attack here moving in with the 4 T-72Ms. And all the while, my Spetsnaz creeping through the forest here. Basilix waiting to find another target. 2 Mi-24V AA is perfect for dealing with all of these gazelles, although the Tunguska in position. Oh, nice double kill there from the Kub. That's another thing that was buffed, is the AoE of big missiles like the Kub. They can hit multiple helicopters very easily now if they're all on top of each other, which will dramatically reduce heli spam. And honestly, this patch in general has been like the anti-spam patch. It really has, because like using spam aircraft against AA like no longer a thing. Using like helicopter rushes, like Iglas is like way too effective now. So, well, Iglas and Stingers, like manpads in general, very effective now. So like helicopters just really suffer. And in a lot of ways it's nice, but it also kind of, you want all units to be viable in a game, and there is obviously adjustments to be made. I am currently just trying to move these Spetsnaz into better positions, but they aren't being spotted as they're moving across the open, so they are getting taken out, which is unfortunate. I did eventually move forwards and unload that Spetsnaz, but not very far. Meanwhile, Desaniki BMD trying to finish off these leopards. We do have RPGs ready to go. The Volpus Swarm coming in with the SPW PSHs. We've got Storm Source bringing up the Mortar Straukis. I've got a bunch more Desaniki BMDs coming up with the BMD2s. But yeah, these Desaniki BMD right now, they do suffer being smaller squads with only one veterancy base. Well, you can bring them in with higher veterancy, but it really lowers their availability a lot. Regardless, Spetsnaz Komlotti on a mission to get into this sector as soon as possible. Meanwhile, on this left-hand side, still firing and moving the Veselix, but a 2A3 going to be going down in the center. My BMD2 here was being an absolute god. It was managing to get off its HGMs at close range, and it killed both of the Leopard 2A3s. There's a good chance that Storm Source's infantry here probably would have got the kills, but the BMD2 doing a good job supporting that for sure. And now looking for the Gepard kill, looking to finish off enemy infantry as well. There goes the Gepard, there goes the Roland, kill off the Pioneer. The BMD2's perfect for just cleaning up there for sure. And now the Spetsnaz coming through, enemy leaders dead in the center. We're looking at a +5 once this is capped. And +6 then, +9 as we've now capped all of these. The right side almost decapped as well. It's going to give us a ton of points very quickly indeed. Basilix ready and waiting to fire away once again, trying to hit the enemy units in the tree line there. Thunderbolt coming over the center, probably looking for attacks. BMP 1K. And is currently contesting here, but there is another leader from Endymion, so that's absolutely fine. On the right hand side, BMD2 trying to help deal with the Milan 2 and enemy infantry. Unfortunately, I lost that BMD2. I was trying to reverse it at the last second there, but it was too late. Spear being found by the BRM. It's always nice to see. And now we're up to a +11. So we have broken the back of our enemies. Our BMD2 providing autocannon fire from the tree line there as my teammates continue to push in. Shav did a good job of pushing that left side. Sanniki's spread out now, pushing forwards, looking for enemy targets. BMD2 moving in. Got the Conkers on the way as well. Nice thing about these UAZs now, they've gone back to good stealth. Same as the little Humvee tows and stuff. They all got good stealth now. And the, like the Rover Milans kind of thing. Now we've got the Su-25 coming in. Hoping to gun run the Pada SAS and the Milan 2. But, as you can see, we're not diving for them. We're dropping our cluster on them. Not really the plan, but has the same effectiveness since they're quite low on health. And the Milan 2 gets taken out. And the way that you have to do this, if you want to use the main gun, is turn off the bombs so that it uses the nose cannon. I obviously forgot to do that in this case and caused them to cluster instead. So, doing pretty well now as we have managed to recover the center. Right side fully secured. Left side still putting loads of pressure on. Since it's got to a point where I'm running low on ammo and it's close to the end of the game, I'm just kind of letting these Vessel X free fire. And yeah, it might cause them to get counter batteried easily, but I can get really accurate shots from this range. And I think actually what happened was a bomber came in very quickly and clustered a lot of my UAZs, so I couldn't even move them. So yeah, that was actually the main reason why I didn't keep moving them after the fact, because I didn't have the transports to do so. Anyway, moving up here, my Desan Niki has managed to find a couple of recon vehicles. I managed to take those out and capture a couple of nice supply vehicles, which were full of supply, so that was really, really nice. And what I'm going to do is allow my teammate here, Stemsource, to reload the RPGs of all of his Monostrelki that have been in combat so far. So the Vessel X now firing away constantly, looking for the airborne units in this town as we continue to grind against our enemies. Su-17 coming in for a nice cheeky kill there. Mi-24 cleaning up the flanking infantry. I did ping the resupply here so that Stemsource stops and picks up the RPGs for his infantry, including the RPO for the Sapori as well. That's going to be useful for him as he continues moving forwards. It is really nice to see AA hitting. Like, I know a lot of people are getting very, very annoyed with, like, there's like a video I think that Rangru did of Estrella missing like every single shot from Estrella. It's actually crazy, but now we have it, so it's almost the opposite, where AA almost never misses, and it's really, really difficult for Eugen to balance. They are obviously going to be continuing to make changes. Tornado coming in there. Seed still effective as ever, to be honest, and Seed very, very important right now. But Igloos and Manpads are currently very strong. I'm currently sitting on the +8, so 20 seconds till victory. As soon as you get over like a +5, the games end so fast with the 2,500 score limit. My poor MiG there. It flew over on this left side. Did manage to shoot down the Kiowa, but got taken down with the AA. We're still continuing to make ground here, bumping into a lot of the support weapons that were left behind, but that's going to be game. We find the victory, and at the end I was left with a few Veseliks. Some of them started to get picked off. But 4,160 kills, 2,410 losses. Not really a game to show off any decent game, because the Battlegroup are kind of a meme, but it was a great opportunity to show off the new feature of being able to group load, which is absolutely massive. I will continue to stipulate that this is one of the best quality of life changes that's happened to WARNO. It's insane. It's so useful for using towed artillery, and I really hope that they maybe backwards compatibility, put it into Steel Division 2, whatever. That'd be really cool. Backport, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. Yeah. Anyway, Veseliks, you can see, didn't really get that many kills. They are worth 70 points each. I think it's 70 points plus supply, or plus transport. So I think they're maybe 50 points each. So they are getting some value here, but if you consider the supply cost on top of that, maybe not. Yeah, they weren't really that effective. The BMB2s, though, doing okay, especially against infantry in the open. And most of my kills actually came from killing a lot of the tanks when we broke through on the top left, thanks to McShab's initial pushes there. So, yeah, fantastic stuff. Really fun game. Great to show off the new feature. I do mostly like the new patch. I think there are some adjustments that still need to be made with it retroactively, but yeah, otherwise, hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.